What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Gamescript, looking at the Dallas Cowboys versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. And it's a game where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense has been firing on all cylinders despite losing Chris Godwin. And Dallas's offense has been a little bit better since Cooper Rush came in as the quarterback, and their defense has been improving, but they've been eliminated from the playoffs. But they are still playing, and what does that mean for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are playing for their playoff lives, and what are the implications for DraftKings Showdown lineups? I'll get into it right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching Gamescript, looking at the Dallas Cowboys versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're playing in Dallas. We got a 47.5-point total with Dallas as 3.5-point home dogs in this one. And that's a reason why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been, their offense has been on fire this year. They've been scoring a ton of points. Their defense has been a little bit sloppy. But they've been coming around a little bit recently, not as bad as they were in the beginning of the season. Dallas's defense has been getting healthier. They got Micah Parsons back a few weeks ago, but then they lost Trayvon Diggs the other week. So interesting situation in the Dallas defense. Tampa Bay is playing for a playoff spot still. They are about a 70% chance of making it into the playoffs. They need to stave off the Atlanta Falcons, who just won today, to take their division. So Tampa Bay needs a win really badly here tonight. They're playing in Dallas, and we know that Jerry Jones does not want to see the Cowboys lose in Dallas, even if their season is already over. And Mike McCarthy is coaching for his job, I guess. I don't know what the situation is going to be after this season. It's likely that he won't be around anymore, but I think they still have him trying to win games here. So it's going to be a pretty good game the way that these teams have been playing recently. Make sure to hit that like button. Give me the 30 likes so I can put my favorite plays in the comment section once we get closer to lock and I get a better idea of the best plays on the slate, or the plays that I like the most on the slate, stuff like that. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm looking to get to 1,400 subscribers by the end of week 16. So I still got a couple slates left to go there. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. You're going to want to hit that anyways, because when you subscribe to the channel, you can sign up for the alerts, and you know when these shows get posted. And I post them, really no set schedule. I have a day job, so it's really whenever I have a chance to do it. So the alerts come when the shows get posted, and you're going to want to sign up for the subscription on the YouTube page in order to get those alerts. So let's get into it here. Going to look first at the percentage of chances to make it into the playoffs for the Bucs. As you can see, if we scroll down here, the Cowboys are apparently out already. I believe they don't have a chance of making it into the playoffs. Falcons won their game today. They're 8-7, second in the NFC South. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers are first in the NFC South currently. They need to win this game to eliminate any chance of screwing things up towards the end of the season. They need to give themselves a more buffer room against those Falcons. If they lose this game, they have a 51% chance of making the playoffs. They're currently at 74%. If they win, it bumps them up to 88%. Meanwhile, the Falcons are currently at 34%, and we'll see what happens after this game, what that does to their playoff probabilities. So very important there, dealing with playoff implications on the Tampa Bay side. The Dallas side, like I said, they're playing mainly for pride, and Jerry Jones is not going to want to see his team lose in Dallas. Never does. but they haven't been that good this year. Cooper Rush has been passable since he's come into be the starting quarterback. We can take a look at some of his performances so far since he's taken over for Dak Prescott when Dak Prescott got hurt. Cooper Rush had 20 DraftKings points last week, 17 a few weeks ago, 20 the week before that. So he's had some decent performances, and most of those have come recently. So Cooper Rush has been, showing some competence at the quarterback position. 354 yards he threw in that game against Houston, 247 versus Washington, and Houston has a good defense. 214 against Carolina last week. Not so great there, but they ended up winning the game 30-14. So they had it well in hand. So Cooper Rush has been doing really well at the quarterback position. It's going to make it interesting situation when we're building our lineups, deciding if we want two quarterbacks or one quarterback. Baker Mayfield has obviously been on fire all season. You can see for the most part, you're going to see higher than 20 DraftKings points for most of his scores, and then he has a few 30 burgers mixed in there as well. So Baker Mayfield has been lights out all season. I believe he's second place in the NFL for passing touchdowns. So he's been doing really well, and he's going to be a guy that we're going to want to have exposure to, obviously. Let's take a look real quick before I dig into the rest of this. Let's take a look at the injury situation on these teams. If we go to the Dallas depth chart, you can see that Dallas is banged up. Obviously, in the offense, they lost Dak Prescott. Jalen Brooks is out. We got some injuries to the O-line. A bunch of guys on IR. You see the depth issues there just by looking at this depth chart. We can look at the defense. You can see Trayvon Diggs now on IR. Lost a bunch of other guys on IR. DeMarcus Lawrence, significant on IR. Overshown is now on IR as well. That's significant for the linebackers. And a bunch of guys are questionable, including Micah Parsons. I haven't seen anything indicating that Micah Parsons won't play. Jordan Lewis also questionable. So you can see the damage that's been done to Dallas's defense. Yet last few weeks they've been putting up a pretty decent fantasy performance. I'll show you the defense for Dallas real quick. You can see that they had a 15 DraftKings point performance against Carolina. They only had 4 against Cincy, but before that they had 17 versus the Giants, and they had 22 versus Washington. 22 versus a good team in Washington. Tampa Bay, I don't think that they're going to be making as many mistakes as some of those other teams. We'll check out Baker Mayfield, see what kind of interceptions he's had. Looks like he's had 5 in the last 3 weeks. And for the season, he's had a bunch of them. So over 10 interceptions for Baker Mayfield, but he's also thrown a boatload of touchdowns. So having a really good season for Baker, a resurgence season for him, following up last year's season where they got to the playoffs. Looks like they're going to make the playoffs again. Let's take a look at Tampa Bay's depth chart here. All right, so if we look at Tampa Bay instead, we can see a bunch of guys on IR in the wide receiver core. Obviously, Chris Godwin, Cameron Johnson, Chase Edmonds on the running backs. As far as the O-line, and Cade Otton is out tonight as well. That's significant. As far as the O-line, a little bit of depth issues with this guy on IR, Sue Apeta on IR. If we go to the defense, KJ Britt is doubtful. Mike Edwards is questionable. Antoine Winfield is out for this one. That's going to be significant, maybe for Ferguson. Ferguson's matchup might get a little bit better in this one. We got a couple guys at right cornerback. Look at the depth in right cornerback. We got Bryce Hall on IR and Troy Hill on IR. So that's pretty significant. You see some depth issues at the safety position as well. So Gives you an idea of what we're dealing with here as far as, the injury matchup between these two teams. Let's look at Ceedee Lamb. Ceedee Lamb is playing a little bit better with Cooper Rush. You can remember he held out in the beginning of the, like in the off season, and he was rusty when he came in at the beginning of the season, and he's starting to pick things up a little bit. We've seen the last few weeks he's had 20 plus DraftKings points, including almost hitting a 30 burger against Carolina last week. So Ceedee Lamb has been getting targeted a lot too. We see in the past 5 weeks, he's had double-digit targets. Throughout the season, he's had double-digit targets a lot since week 6, every week except for 2 weeks in there. So Ceedee Lamb is getting back up to speed. You took him a while to get there, but he's playing well recently. And Mike Evans was hurt for a big portion of the season. Mike Evans has been playing well these last few weeks. He's had something like a 30% target share, and you can see it in the results. He had 40 DraftKings points last week. He had 28.8 a few weeks ago, and prior to his injury, he had some big weeks too. So Mike Evans looks like he's over his, I believe it was a hamstring injury, and he's looking good so far. Baker Mayfield, talked about him. Let's go to Rico Dowdle. Dowdle has become the lead back for Dallas. He's getting heavily involved in not only the rushing game. He's had 3 weeks in a row over 100 yards, but also in the passing game. You can see a bunch of targets that he's been getting, 6, 6, 3, 5, 3, 3, 2. I would imagine he's going to be used in the passing game tonight with, we got to figure that the Buccaneers are going to probably most likely have a lead in this one. And, maybe Rico Dowdle is used more in the passing game in this one, but he's going to be a guy that we're going to want to keep in our player pools. Bucky Irving he's a rookie. He's been playing really well, especially the last 5 weeks or so when he started to take a bigger portion of that starting role from White. And he missed a week. No, he got hurt in the Vegas game, and he only had 2.8 points. Raschaad White took back over that role in that game, the starting role. But for the most part, when Bucky Irving got his opportunities, you can see it showed up in his fantasy points. He's basically a stud. Double-digit DraftKings points in a lot of those early weeks, and he went to 18.5, 16.7, 15.7. You get the idea. 30 in there. Got a lot of upside. We see a 30-point performance. We know that he's got elite upside, and Bucky Irving will be, definitely in play against Dallas. Dallas is giving up 24 DraftKings points a game to the running back position, so they've been susceptible to the run. Tampa Bay is only giving up 21.7 DraftKings points to the running back position. With Tampa Bay, it's significant because they're giving up 48 receiving yards a game to the running back position. I believe that is the most receiving yards to running backs. And Rico Dowdle taking on a bigger role in the passing game. That's going to be significant for the passing work that we see Rico Dowdle get, in a game where Cooper Rush is likely going to be dumping off to him a good amount of this game. Raschaad White. Let's take a look at the snap shares between Raschaad White and Bucky Irving here. So we go into the running back, sorted by team. Scroll down to Tampa Bay. You can see Raschaad White, 37% of the snap shares, and Bucky Irving, 32%. Sean Tucker sent the mix, but it's Bucky Irving and Raschaad White have been the two-headed monster for the most part. You can see they've been dueling back and forth. Raschaad White, that week that Bucky Irving got hurt, he ended up with 47%. Week before that, they were both at around 43%. Looks like a pretty even split, 32 and 34. So it's all a matter of which guy you think is going to get the hot hand, or, like in the case of Bucky Irving, he's likely to get a decent amount of opportunities. He's got the explosive upside, so he's able to make the most of his opportunities. You see with Raschaad White, he's had some good weeks too. He had a 29 DraftKings point week back against Baltimore, and he had 24.9 against Vegas a couple weeks ago. He's been getting heavily targeted as well. His involvement in the pass game has been getting reduced, while Bucky Irving has been increasing. So Irving's surgence has been at the expense of Raschaad White, but both players are still good, and they're both in play. Especially with Godwin out. With Godwin out, they started relying more on these running backs in the passing game. So let's go to Jalen McMillan. McMillan, the last couple weeks, has had a couple big weeks, 18.5 DraftKings points and 21.9 DraftKings points. McMillan is becoming the number 2 here now that Chris Godwin is gone, and McMillan has been making the most of it the last few weeks. 7 targets and 6 targets the last 2 weeks. If we think that Mike Evans is going to be covered by Deron Bland, the top corner of the Cowboys, who I believe shadows the top receiver. Bland has 43% from the left side and 50% from the right side. So it looks like he follows around the lead receiver there. Mike Evans is primarily on the left side of the field. He's 45% alignment on the left side. That fits in with Deron Bland's 50% on the right side, and I would imagine that he's going to be shadowing Evans, which is going to leave McMillan with the weaker matchup, and it's going to leave McMillan with the way that Baker is trusting him recently as a important piece of tonight's puzzle. If we think that it's going to be heavily passing on the Tampa Bay side, then McMillan will likely have a big role in that. So Cooks has been coming alive these last few weeks as far as getting targets. He hasn't really done anything with it. He had a 10-point week a couple weeks ago, but he was hurt for a big portion of the season, came back a few weeks ago. Been getting targeted, but has not really done anything with it, but he's getting the opportunity, and that's what we're looking for with Showdown, because we're just looking for one of those random breakout weeks, potentially by a guy like Cooks. Otton is out. I don't know if that puts me on any of the backup tight ends. We'll see how cheap they are. You have to scroll down pretty far to find out who the potential backup is for Tampa Bay. Might be this guy Durham. Let me check and see. Let's go back to this page here. All right. Cade Otton, 66%. Payne Durham, 30%. Kokift, 19%. So I think maybe Durham is the guy that is going to be taking that starting tight end role while Otton is out. And as you can see, where'd he go? He's cheap at $300 and has not been targeted. Let's look at Keft and see if he's been targeted. Yeah, he hasn't been targeted either. So I would guess that they're very unlikely to lean on any of these tight ends on Tampa's side. None of them have done anything, but Durham looks like he's the next man up. So yeah, keep that in mind tonight if you're looking to dumpster dive and you need one of those slots filled that's like $300. Payne Durham is in play. He's a guy that we want to keep in our player pool. Let's see. Looking at Cooks. Aubrey, definitely in play. You look and see his history. He's had a lot of double-digit DraftKings points, especially in the beginning of the season. He's tailed off a little bit recently, but Brandon Aubrey's capable of putting up a like a performance to get him in the optimal. Same with McLaughlin. McLaughlin had 18 DraftKings points against the Chargers. A couple weeks before that, he had 16 against Carolina, and he's had a few other big double-digit weeks. So both these kickers are going to be in play. Keep them in your player pools. Ferguson, the Bucs have been giving up 14.7 DraftKings points a game to the tight end position. So Ferguson is going to be in play tonight. Keep him in your player pool. I have him in my underdog short as going for a touchdown, anytime touchdown. I do think that Ferguson might play a role in this one and, potentially get his first touchdown of the season. I don't believe he's had a touchdown all season. He was hurt for a portion of the season, I believe. Maybe early in the season. Yeah, and missed a few weeks there. But yeah, Jake Ferguson is going to be in play, and he's pretty cheap at 7,200. Ferguson was a big part of this offense last year. Like this year, he has not really been involved, but he could score a touchdown any week. Bucs D is in play the way that Dallas. They're still capable of giving up points to the defense. So Bucs defense is going to be in play, and they've been actually playing better recently. You've seen them win 40-17 against the Chargers. They won 28-13 against Vegas. They won 26-23 against Carolina and 30-7 against New York. Carolina's been playing really well recently. Some of these teams have just been playing well, and the defense of the Bucs has been stepping up. They used to be a target early in the season. The games were always shooting out because the Bucs D was so bad, but they've gotten a little bit better to the point where they're middling now. It's still a good matchup for Cooper Rush. They're giving up 21.7 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. And like I mentioned, the tight end position. As far as the wideouts, they're only giving up 11.2 DraftKings points a game to the slot. That's a middling matchup for Ceedee Lamb. 22.3 to the wideouts and 21.7 to the running back position. So those are all middling matchups for these Dallas guys. Sterling Shepard is a guy with a decent matchup. Tampa Bay, Dallas has given up 14.1 DraftKings points a game to the slot position, and that is where Sterling Shepard is running a majority of his routes. He's doing 47% of his routes in the slot. So Sterling Shepard is a guy that we can keep in our player pool as well. Not eliminating many guys here. A lot of these guys are just have good matchups, or like in a situation where this game might shoot out, like any one of these guys could be interesting. Turpin, we saw him break out a long touchdown in a showdown slate a few weeks ago with Houston. I talked him up in that show a little bit. I've always liked Turpin dating back to last Thanksgiving. I had Head Chopper on the show with me, breaking it down in 2023. And I just remember like him talking about Turpin, and, it kind of stuck out, and Turpin, he's just he's a speedy player, and he returns the kickoffs on top of it. So, he can score a touchdown from anywhere on the field. And, he's always going to be, like a danger for any defense. So Turpin is a guy that we can leave, and he's not expensive either. He's only, he's only $3K. So he's a guy we can leave in our player pool. Elliott, I don't think we really need to mess with him. Tucker, we could go there if we need a 2,400 guy. Schoonmaker, let's see what Schoonmaker's done recently. 2 targets, 6 targets in week 13. Yeah, this guy gets targeted. So let's go back over to our snap counts here. Schoonmaker, 28%, 44% for Ferguson, 22% for Spanford, 27%. That's Troutman. He's different team there. So you get the idea with these tight ends. Schoonmaker, 1,800. Like if we need a cheap guy, he is going to be in play. Mingo has not done anything since he got traded from the Panthers, but he's at 1,200. Trey Palmer looks like he hasn't really done anything recently either. For a while there, it was kind of expected that he would be one of the guys that has a decent role on this team. He played pretty decent last year, so I don't know what happened to him, but he's at 1K. Let's go back to that chart. Let's take a look at wide receivers. I want to get an idea of how much snap share these guys are getting. Looks like Shepard and Evans are the main guys, obviously. McMillan, too. Yes, Trey Palmer's just a secondary guy. It's Palmer. I mean, it's McMillan, it's Shepard, and it's Evans. Those are the guys that we're concerned with for the most part. But if you need the salary relief, like you can use a guy like Trey Palmer. He's getting a decent amount of opportunity, or like at least of snaps. So when you see that, like you can keep the guy in play. I want to see real quick too with the man versus zone situation here. I'll take a look and see what Tampa Bay guys benefit from this matchup here. All right, let's look at Tampa Bay. So Dallas is running about an even amount of man and zone coverage. Doesn't look like anything really stands out, like as far as the coverage situation. But I do like McMillan. I think McMillan is going to be a good play tonight. I want to get an idea of what his ownership is too. It looks like he's getting schemed a bunch of plays too. So that's important for McMillan. Let's go back up to McMillan real quick. All right, I'm going to get an idea of his ownership real quick. Looks like the main builds are going to be 4-2 Tampa, 35% there. So building 4-2 towards Dallas is going to get you a little bit different. The heaviest owned captains are going to be Mike Evans and Ceedee Lamb. I think that's pretty obvious. Baker Mayfield is there too. Dowdle and Irving, all those guys are double digits for ownership, which makes guys like Raschaad White and Jalen McMillan very interesting at the captain spots. Those are guys that I think can get enough of a workload where they can have big upside in a week like this, especially if it ends up being skewing towards a lower score. Then that'll make them firmly in play as the captain options. So let's start building this lineup here. I'm going to start off with like a popular captain. I think Evans will be popular tonight. Mayfield, people will be stacking Mayfield along with him, and I think Irving will be popular too. They'll try to get Lamb in their lineups. It's going to leave them with about 25.50 per guy left. If we scroll down there into that realm, Turpin is the guy that stands out the most for those cheap guys. 2,100 is left. And that leaves us with options like Schoonmaker, Mingo, Palmer, Ryan Miller, who that bastard scored a touchdown at the end of regulation when I was winning 118K in Showdown. You guys have heard me talk about that enough. Lipke is interesting in that situation as well. But, those are some interesting guys there. Evans going to be kind of a prohibitive captain there. If we want to take out Irving and maybe go with White, gets us a little bit more, gets us 3K instead of 2K. Opens up like Elliott and Tucker. Probably be more interested in Tucker, honestly, than Elliott. Let's see what Elliott's done recently. 9 attempts in Week 15 against Carolina. Also had a target, but really hasn't done anything. He's had only 2 weeks, double-digit points. But he is the most viable, like him and Tucker, the most viable down in this range, I think. So let's swap this out. Let's go with a cheap captain option. I'm going to go with McMillan. He's a cheaper captain option. I'm going to assume that he has a decent game. And you know what? I'm going to leave Evans out of this one. I'm going to say that maybe Evans struggles a little bit tonight. Although, where's Evans at with his yardage? He's looking at 749 yards. So he's trying to get 1,000 yards. He needs 251 yards, and they got we're week 16, 17. So they got 3 weeks to get it. He's got 3 weeks to get 251 yards. He's going to need about 80 yards to get there per week. So Evans, keep that in mind. They'll probably make an effort to get him involved. So Evans is going to be a tough guy to fade. But let's mess around with this here. I'm going to put Lamb in there. I'm going to put Mayfield. If I got Mayfield, I want another receiver. Going to go down to Shepard. So we got two receivers with Mayfield. I want to get their running back in there too. Let's go with Irving. Going to leave me with 7K. If I go to White instead, leaves me in the same spot. 8K instead of 7K. So let's stick with Irving. In that situation, I'm looking at Cooks, who I don't hate. Looking at Aubrey and McLaughlin, guys like that. If we want to maybe take out Lamb, and let's go with Dowdle instead. See what that does for us. Leaves us with 8K. If I want to get Rush in there, I can take out Irving and go with White instead. So I could build like that. We got Mayfield to Shepard and McMillan, and we got Dowdle in there and Cooper Rush, and then whoever you decide to fill in with your final spot there. I would try to get exposure to that Tampa running game in most lineups, and like Dowdle, Ceedee Lamb. All those guys are going to be in good or decent matchups tonight, especially with the receiving work that Dallas is giving, or Tampa Bay is giving up to the running back position. So it's going to be a little bit tricky to try to figure out lineups. We could do something like Irving, popular captain option. Let's put him in the captain. Let's switch it up a little bit here. Let's go with Evans and Lamb. We got Irving in there already. Let's scroll down. We got about 5K left per guy. Let's get that Dallas kicker in there. Let's put Dowdle in this one too. This is lower scoring. $900. That puts us in that spot where we have like Ryan Miller, Lipke, and the tight end that I mentioned, Durham. So let's swap out Aubrey for Ferguson. Let's say Ferguson actually does something this week. That puts us up to 1,300. Gives us options like Mingo and Palmer. So, this is a couple different directions. By the way, I last week or on Saturday for the Saturday slate, Pittsburgh and Baltimore, I built the winner on the show. So make sure to check out that short that I posted. I posted a short like recapping it on the YouTube page. Check that out and throw a like on it. But basically, it was a recap of the process of building. We never know what's going to happen when we're building these lineups. Sometimes the ones built on the show are going to hit. Sometimes they're not. They're mainly to give you guys an idea of a direction for like when you're trying to build your own lineups. But every once in a while, like one will hit. Like I think I've had like 3 that hit on this show so far this season. Like one was that Kansas City game. The one that hit was the one that we did on the show, and spread to stare ended up winning that, coming in first place in that one. For a little while there, from about the third quarter, the end of the third quarter through the end of overtime, literally the last play of the game when Kareem Hunt scored that touchdown, I was winning 118K. I was in first place, and then the that Kareem Hunt touchdown knocked me way down and knocked spread into first in that one. So I was glad to see him ship that one. He was in the $3 tournament, I believe. He came in first place in that one, won a few grand on that. But last night, if you had built what we built on the show, you would have won about 6K, because we had it down to 2 options. It was Calvin Austin or the Baltimore defense. You can see it in that recap where we had that one spot left. Like I leave this spot open always at the end of the show. And I put one lineup in the biggest, the big DraftKings contest. And the one lineup I put in, I had Austin instead of the Baltimore defense. So I would have, shipped that tournament with a single bullet, with a single lineup. So, don't feel like you need to have optimizers necessarily. Like if you're a low budget guy, or if you like to build these by hand and try to put the puzzle together based on like what you research for matchups and stuff like that, or like maybe you find a hidden gem as a captain option or something like that. Anyone can win these things. You don't have to have like $8,000 software to win it. It definitely helps to have that. But, I've been primarily doing these by hand, and I'm very low volume player. Like I said, like last night, I put one lineup in that tournament. I almost shipped it. So I was one swap away from shipping. I should have put 2 freaking lineups in, but I was like, I was delirious yesterday. Bunch of all-nighters pulling all-nighters, trying to get this content out and work a day job. So hopefully this one will give you guys some direction on where to go with these lineups. I think I have an idea. Like I like McMillan, I think, as the captain that could give us that low-owned captain. And when I pick these low-owned captains, it's for a reason. It's because I'm low volume. And I'm trying to pick a captain that might be under that 6% range, like Likely was the other day, where they have upside and they're not going to have a lot of ownership in the captain. And I'm not going to have to worry about, competing against 20% of the field like I would if I was having like Ceedee Lamb as my captain or something like that. That's my strategy when I play. That's the thing that I try to, try to do when I build these lineups on the show. And that's why I give you the chalkier builds as well, in case you like to go in that different direction. But, Hopefully this show helps you guys out. If it does, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, get me to 1,400 subscribers. And, hopefully some of you guys won with that lineup the other day. If you did, shoot us a tweet at Heatseeker Sports on Twitter. And, let us know that, you guys are benefiting from this stuff. All right, guys, talk to you soon.